welcome back to that campervan thing. Today we're going to have a bit of fun with some gadgets. We've made a bit of an investment recently. We've had a tow bar fitted to the van and we've bought a bike rack. There's a bit of a problem with bike racks though with our van being barn door style rather than up and over. So I'm going to show you what the issue is and how we're solving it. Right, so our particular bike rack's a Thule Easy Fold X2. Also, there's loads out there on the market. Same problem with whatever you get though. I've always liked Thule. I've always had them for roof racks for my cars over the years, so I decided to stick with what I know. So mounting it on, very straightforward. Onto the tow bar, secure it down with the handle, and that is rock solid. And these just fold out. Obviously there's electric hookup there, go in there, but we don't need to worry about that right now. So it's all great. I'm just going to load a bike up and we'll show you exactly what the issue is. Okay, so as you can see, obviously you're not going to be able to open the doors with that on there, although this model and lots of others do come with a tilt facility. So you just tread on the switch there and it will tilt out of the way, which you can kind of get to the back of the van and you can get in a little bit, but you haven't really got full access, which can be quite annoying, particularly if you do store a lot of gear in the back there like we do. So we have a solution. So we've got something called a Swingy Flex, which is a great name, from a company in Poland actually. I think eu.camping is the website, and actually it's a bracket that we're going to put on here which actually allows you to swing the whole thing out, so you can actually open the doors and get full access. So today we're going to have a crack at fitting that. So first of all we'll take this lot off and then we'll show you some of the steps through it, and we'll see how difficult it is. Okay, so this is the Swingy Flex. There we are, got the X-Camping logo on there. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to remove the tow bar, and this is going to be screwed on, bolted on to there, and then we're going to put the tow bar back here, and there's an extension for the electrics to go through, and then basically with the tow bar here we'll mount the bike rack back on there, but essentially this will sit like that. So a little bit lower. So see how we get on. First thing to do, remove the tow bar. Right, so these bolts are really torqued up, so you have to have a adjustable spanner at the back and to get a little bit of extra leverage using the pole I've got, luckily, but they're freed up now, so we should be able to get these off okay. Just need to hold that with the spanner, but I'll show you when we're done, and we'll take the electrics off next, I think, so we've got a bit more room, but at least we've got them loosened up, a bit of play. So alright, so next step is get these electrics off, whiz those screws out. Right, so we've got the screws out, 3 screws, and then that'll pop off. Now some of these brackets have a slot in them so you can just pop the wiring through, but this original one that's been put on hasn't, so looks like we're going to have to disconnect some of the wiring to change it, I think. So we'll have a look and see how we're going to work that one out. Right, so here we go. Encountered problem number 1, and that is, excuse the noise, that the electrics going through here obviously isn't going to squeeze back through. When we remove the tow bar, we've got to take this plate out. I don't really want to undo all of those wires and try and put them back in there. I think that's asking for trouble, but with the Swingy Flex you do get one of these, and what I realised was that when I put the Swingy Flex on here, this was not going to be any good to us, because that's still got to function like this. So I did go on the internet and I managed to find one that will drop it lower. So I think the easiest thing for us to do is to actually cut this so we can bend it and then get the electrics out. And obviously the replacement one that we've got has got a handy little slot in it, a much better design clearly, for us to be able to squeeze the wires through, and then we can remount it. So that's what we're going to do next. Right, so we've just bent that out a little bit so we can get at it with a saw. So we'll see how we get on with sawing through here. In fact, I might try and be clever and go here so I can go through the hole. Let's take a little bit starting off. There we go. So it's quite warm. There we go, electric's freed. Right, we'll loosen these bolts off now, get rid of this, and we'll have a go at attaching the new one. Okay, so we've just released these mighty bolts. So the electrical connector holder comes off, and obviously the tow bar. This is the new one we're going to fit, which has got a handy slot for the electrics. So let's see how that works out. Lovely. So we're going to obviously remount that, mount the electrics. Right, so we've had a bit of a rethink. So after we'd detached this, we thought we were going to use one of the other plates to drop it. We've realised that there's still actually not enough clearance on there unless we dropped all of this. So I actually then thought, actually wouldn't it have been a much easier solution if we just left this on and we just bent that back the other way so that the electrics were coming through on an angle like that. So I think after we've needlessly sawn through there, we're going to do a little bit of metal work and change the angle of that, push it back so that it's coming off like that, and then we can connect up the extension to electrics like that and then mount it all back on. So it's all good fun. So we've used these little steps here to take the weight of the arm, and we've offered it up and just got the 4 bolts through now. We've just hand tight put the nuts on, so we're just going to use the socket and the wrench behind just to tighten them up, and we'll see how we look, and hopefully as we go back this will bend out a little bit more, and then if we have to give it a little bit more after we're finally finished, we will do, and that'll be facing off that way. And then all we've got to do afterwards is connect the electric and the tow bar on this side. Hopefully it will be fairly straightforward, that bit. This bit's a little bit tight, but we'll see how we go. So we've got the 4 bolts in now, all tightened up. I think I'm probably going to just get the torque wrench on them, make sure that they are tight enough, but they are pretty tight, so hopefully we've done the job. Okay, so that's all torqued up now, the support removed, so you can now see how it kind of functions. That will lock in there, lock down like so, and then you can lock it with a key. Stops anyone interfering or that coming up by accident. everything's kept clear. So all we need to do now is put the tow bar back on that bit. And as you can see, we've got the electrics bent around, so we can access those fine. So there we go, we've got 2 bolts, nuts and a washer. Right, so I've just put these in touch tight now, so just going to tighten these up, and next up will be just connecting the electrics on. And hopefully we're about there. Right, so we'll just tighten this up. Deep enough to turn it all up, I don't think.
Yep.
Right, so we've got the electrics just loosely threaded on. I'm just going to tighten them up now. Just have to make sure the rubber seal's okay all around the bottom there. The tricky one is the one at the bottom that we can't see. I think that'll do for now. All secured. So these electrics will attach onto here. Hopefully, if I line them up, and they lock in place with the cap. And then when we open up the bikes, stretch out as far as we need it to. Jobs are good. So I think all we need to do now is I'll just give these a last tighten up, and then I'll tie the tools away a bit, and we'll get the bike rack on, and we'll see how much better it looks. Right, so here we are back again. So it's all installed, that's locked in its closed position. So we'll get the bike rack back on. It says. Oh, there we go. So that's all sorted. We'll get the electrics up. Which is always a bit of a ball, I can't find. I think it's just a bit tight because it's new. I'll just hook that out of the way there. That'll do. And then down with that. Right, I've got to get the bike on now. Right, so just loaded one of the bikes back on. There. Put the lever there. And that will move away. And we can now remember to drop that lever. Get access to the van. Now, it will also, when you release this pin, you can also get it to articulate again if you want to. I'm not sure, we'll have to play with that, see whether we really need to do that much, but certainly much better than the situation we had before with just the tilting rack. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And just pushing back. That pin securely in there. In there. lined up, and down we go. And then just to secure it, drop the button there. There's a key to undo that, so no one can tamper with it. Just a bit of extra security, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So I guess the only thing we need to do now is just check all the electrics work on the back here, now that we've got it double through. So we'll have a shot of that in a minute. Indicator. Right indicator. Brake. Reverse. Right then, so finally I'd say that was a success. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought, and would have been a bit easier if I'd got all the tools I required. A 25mm spanner would have definitely made life a lot easier rather than adjustable, because it's quite tight back there. But yeah, pretty pleased with that, and yeah, looking forward to getting out in the van with the bikes and having a few good times and a good ride. So yeah, if you like this kind of thing, let us know. I think there are a couple of other ones available on the market now actually. I have seen one that clamps straight onto your existing tow ball and has another tow ball on it that you go onto, but I don't know, the idea of it being just two clamps in serial, I don't know, I think I prefer something that's a little bit more substantial and permanent, but obviously aesthetics wise you'll be able to take both off, but you've got to store all this stuff, haven't you, as well somewhere, so might as well just leave it on the van. And we'll see how we go with it. But thanks for watching.